Ladies, you ever wonder why a man can have a whole list of women he's been with, but there's always that one that stays on his mind? That one he brings up years later in random conversations. That one he stalks silently on social media. That one whose name still carries weight in his memory. Let me tell you something, ladies. It's the one who went silent. A man can go through life thinking he's got it all under control. He can take a woman for granted, ignore the signs, overlook the love, and treat her presence like it's guaranteed. But there comes a moment, sometimes early, sometimes years later, when he remembers one woman in particular. Not the one who yelled, not the one who cried, not the one who begged for his attention. No, the one who went silent, the one who left quietly, the one who didn't make a scene, but made an impact. That woman stays in his memory forever. You know why that is? Because men are wired to respond to reaction. If you're reacting, he still feels in control. If you're texting, calling, explaining, venting, pleading, he knows you're still in it. But the moment you go quiet, the moment you don't show up like you used to, when your name starts appearing on his phone and your energy disappears from his life, that's when it hits him. That silence speaks louder than any argument ever could. He says, I'm done. And nothing messes with a man more than realizing he lost you while he still thought he had time. A woman's silence is not just an absence of words. It's the presence of strength. It's the final decision she makes when she realizes she deserves more than half love, more than broken promises, more than excuses. She doesn't announce it. She doesn't broadcast it. She simply stops showing up. No fanfare, no drama. And that silence, that's when he realizes she was the one who really cared. Because a woman doesn't go silent overnight. She goes silent after too many nights of giving and not receiving. After too many chances extended and too many ignored. After too many tears cried behind closed doors while he went about his day like nothing was wrong. By the time a woman goes quiet, she's already mourned the relationship. She's already let it die in her heart. She's already said goodbye 1,000 times in her mind. So when she finally walks away, she walks away whole. That's why it's unforgettable. That's why it lingers. Because when someone leaves you in peace, without hate, without noise, you're left sitting in the consequences of your own behavior. And that's what he remembers. Not her silence, but everything that led up to it. She was the one who tried. She stayed through the chaos. She believed in potential. She saw what he could be and loved him through the rough edges. She reminded him of his worth even when he didn't act like it. She was loyal in a world that's full of easy exits and short-term feelings. And she left not because she stopped loving him, but because she finally started loving herself more. That's the part that hurts. That's the part that's unforgettable. Not because she broke him, but because she let him go when he still thought she'd hold on. And here's the twist. He won't even realize what he had until long after she's gone. At first, it might feel like peace to him, like freedom. He might go out, party, flirt, post online like nothing happened. But in the quiet moments, when nobody else is around, when his phone is dry and his mind is full, that's when she comes back to him in memories, in what ifs, in moments where he wishes he could rewind and do it differently. That silence becomes the loudest echo in his life. Not because she's trying to haunt him, but because she's not trying to do anything at all. It's just moved on. See, women are emotional beings, yes, but when a woman learns to channel those emotions into dignity, into silence, into presence and self-worth, she becomes untouchable. And nothing sticks in a man's soul more than a woman he couldn't break, a woman who didn't curse his name, who didn't try to make him jealous, who didn't stoop to his level, but instead elevated herself right out of his life, That's the woman he remembers. That's the one who gets under his skin long after she's gone. He'll date others. He might even get married one day, but there will always be a pause when her name comes up, a moment of silence, a shift in his tone, because deep down he knows. He knows she was different. Not perfect, not flawless, but real. Solid, loving, patient. She was the one who knew his soul, but didn't let it drag hers down. She gave him her best, and when he couldn't match it, she didn't punish him. She just withdrew her energy. Quietly, powerfully, permanent. And when a man feels that loss, it never fully leaves. He might tell himself he's moved on. He might convince himself that she was just another chapter. But in the back of his mind, he knows. There's a different kind of respect he holds for her. A kind of respect that only silence earns. Because noise fades, arguments fade, even love fades if it's not nurtured. But silence, that's timeless. That's the sound of self-respect. That's the sound of peace. That's the sound of a woman who knew her worth and chose herself over chaos. So if you ever find yourself wondering if walking away quietly was the right choice, let me tell you, yes, it was. Because you didn't leave in anger. You didn't leave to prove a point. You left because your spirit needed rest. You left because you finally realized no amount of love can heal someone who refuses to grow. And in doing so, you became the one he could never forget. Not because you tried to stay in his mind, but because you had the strength to walk away from it. That silence became your legacy. That peace became your power. And that absence, that became the loudest reminder of all. A man can forget a lot of things in life. He can forget what you wore on your first date, forget the little arguments, even forget some of the words you said when you were upset. But what he never forgets is the woman who went silent, the one who didn't scream, the one who didn't beg for attention, the one who just disappeared. And not because she stopped caring, but because she finally understood that caring wasn't enough to keep her soul tied to someone who didn't value her presence. See, when a woman is loud, when she's expressing, texting, calling, confronting, it's a sign that she still has hope. She's still holding on, trying to be heard, trying to make it work. But when the silence hits, that's the moment when everything changes. That's when she's no longer trying to be understood. She's done explaining. She's done repeating herself. She's not playing games, not giving warnings. She's just gone. That kind of exit, it marks a man. Not because she made noise, but because her silence was the end of a fight she carried for far too long. And the truth is, most men don't realize the damage they've done until the woman they thought would always be there is nowhere to be found. They're used to being chased, used to being forgiven, used to being tolerated. But when a woman gets tired of talking and chooses peace over persistence, it shocks his system because silence doesn't come from nowhere. It comes from too much giving, too much waiting, too much love poured into someone who didn't pour it back. The silence isn't empty. It's full of everything she tried to say, every ignored message, every night she waited for a call that never came, every time she swallowed her feelings just to keep the peace. All of that is in her silence. And when she finally walks away, that silence becomes deafening. He starts hearing everything he ignored, starts feeling the absence of her presence, and he realizes, maybe too late, that he lost someone who actually cared. And don't think he forgets it quickly, because he doesn't. That memory stays with him in quiet ways. It shows up when he's alone, when his phone isn't lighting up with her messages anymore, when he sees something that reminds him of her. When he thinks about how she used to support him, believe in him, love him, even when he didn't deserve it, that silence haunts him. Not because she punished him, but because she didn't. She just vanished with dignity. Men don't forget that kind of woman. They may not say it out loud, but they remember. They remember the one who brought peace into their life, even if they didn't recognize it at the time. They remember the one who gave her all without needing to be flashy about it. The one who was there, solid, loving, present, and then wasn't. Because a quiet departure has weight. It speaks volumes. It doesn't beg to be noticed, it forces it. She became unforgettable, not through chaos, but through calm. She didn't tear him down when she left. She didn't try to destroy his image. She didn't expose him. She didn't try to get even. She just left him to deal with what he created. And that's what stings the most. Not the loss of attention, but the loss of a woman who truly saw him and still chose to walk away. Not with anger, but with peace. Not with bitterness, but with clarity. He might pretend it doesn't bother him. He might act unbothered, put on a show, even date someone new. But deep inside, he knows the truth. He remembers her energy. He remembers how she made him feel understood without having to say too much, how she was soft where the world was harsh, how she stayed when others would have run, and how one day without warning she stopped showing up and never came back. That's the kind of silence a man carries with him. It's not loud, not dramatic, but it's heavy. It settles in the parts of him that know he could have done better, should have loved her more, should have paid attention. It's the kind of silence that doesn't demand closure because she already gave it to herself. She didn't need him to explain, didn't need him to fix it. She simply walked away from the damage. And years from now, he'll still think about her. Maybe not every day, maybe not in every moment, but she'll cross his mind in quiet spaces, in random songs, in the way another woman says something that reminds him of her. He'll feel that silence again, that moment she stopped talking and started healing, that moment she stopped chasing and started choosing herself, that moment she became the one who got away. Not because she wanted to, but because he gave her no reason to stay. And that kind of woman, the one who went silent without revenge, without rage, that's the woman who becomes a memory he can never erase. There's something a man never fully recovers from, even if he pretends otherwise. It's not the loud breakup, not the screaming match, not the tears or the drama, it's the silence. It's that one woman who, after giving all she could, just stopped trying. The woman who didn't send a goodbye message, didn't leave a note, didn't post about it. She just slipped away. Not out of hate, not out of spite, but out of self-respect. That's the woman who stays with him in ways even he can't explain. He might act like he didn't notice at first, like he's too busy, too distracted, too unfazed to care. But deep down, something feels different. He no longer hears her laugh in his messages. Her name stops appearing on his screen. Her voice no longer fills the void when his day gets hard. It's quiet, too quiet. And that silence starts to echo through his life in places he never expected. You see, a man will never forget the woman who went silent because that silence didn't come easy. It came after nights of her overthinking every word, after days of wondering if she was asking for too much when all she wanted was consistency, after moments where she felt like she was loving him more than she was loving herself. And when she finally chose silence, it wasn't to punish him. It was to protect her peace. And nothing is more powerful than a woman who's done explaining herself. He remembers her not because she made a grand exit, but because she left him alone with his own noise. There was no argument to distract him, no emotional outburst to make her look crazy, no last call for closure, just her absence, her calm, her grace. And that haunts him because her silence forces him to listen to everything he refused to hear when she was speaking. He found it impossible. He doesn't speak. She probably stayed longer than she should have. She gave him the benefit of the doubt more times than she admits. She forgave, excused, tried to understand him. She was loyal through confusion, patient through disappointment. And yet, when the time came, she chose to walk away with nothing but her pride intact. That's what he can't shake. The strength it takes to leave without needing to be seen, without needing to be heard, without needing revenge. She became unforgettable the moment she chose herself. And while he may try to replace her, try to distract himself with someone new, it never feels the same, because she was more than her presence. She was his peace. She was the one who made him feel like maybe, just maybe, he was better than what he had become. And now that she's gone, all he has left is the memory of who he was when she was around and who he lost when she went silent. Men don't forget that kind of woman. They can't. Because she didn't just walk away. She evolved. She healed. She grew. And she did it without asking him to notice. That bothers him more than he'll ever admit. He checks up in silence, scrolling through her pictures, watching her smile without him, wondering if she thinks about him the way he thinks about her, wishing he could go back, do it differently, say the things he never said, but she's not waiting. Her silence became her power. It became the boundary he never thought she'd create. It became the final answer to 1,000 unasked questions. And as much as it hurt her to go quiet, she realized it hurt her more to keep speaking to someone who refused to hear her. The one who went silent isn't bitter. She's not angry. She's just done. And that level of detachment isn't cold. It's honest. It says, I gave you every chance. I gave you all the love I had, and now I'm giving it to myself. And nothing messes with a man more than knowing he pushed away a woman who would have stayed forever if only he had made her feel safe, seen, and valued. He might spend the rest of his life trying to recreate what he lost, but the truth is, you can't recreate energy. You can't replace connection. You can't undo the damage caused by silence earned through neglect. And so while she may not speak his name again, while she may never return his calls or messages, he will always remember, not because she left, but because of how she left. Quietly, strongly, completely. That kind of silence becomes a presence, a shadow that lingers when he least expects it. It's in the quiet moments, in the stillness, when the world slows down, she returns to him, not physically, but emotionally, in memory, in regret, in realization. And by then, it's no longer about wanting her back. It's about knowing he'll never find another her. And that truth stays with him. A man never forgets the one who went silent. A man may live a whole life surrounded by noise, by distractions, by conversations that fill the silence but never touch his soul. He can date many women, engage in all kinds of relationships, enjoy all types of companionship, but there will always be one woman he remembers. The one who went silent. Not because she ghosted him out of nowhere, but because she had tried over and over to make the relationship work. She poured herself into the connection until she had nothing left. And when she finally decided to stop speaking, stop fighting, stop reaching, that's when her absence became louder than her presence ever was. You see, a man doesn't forget the woman who left without a final warning. He doesn't forget the one who loved him deeply and patiently, then chose to protect her heart instead of begging for his attention. That kind of exit leaves a mark. Because she didn't try to guilt trip him. She didn't throw accusations or demand apologies. She simply withdrew. And that quiet withdrawal, that soft, unspoken goodbye is what gets under his skin. Not in the heat of the moment, but later, when she's no longer there, when the air changes, when life quiets down and he realizes the sound of her voice has been missing for a while. He may not show it right away. Some men don't process the loss of a good woman until months or even years have passed, but that silence begins to wrap itself around everything. He thinks he's moved on. He tries to replace her energy with something new, someone different. But the truth is, her silence taught him something nothing else could, that not all exits come with closure. And not all love gets recycled into second chances. Some love just leaves. She didn't leave to hurt him. She didn't go silent to win some power struggle. She went silent because she was tired of repeating herself, tired of explaining why she deserved better, tired of being the only one trying to build something real. And when a woman like that goes quiet, it's not a game, it's growth. It's a choice to no longer settle for half-hearted affection and broken promises. And that kind of silence cuts deeper than any argument ever could. He might even fool himself into thinking she'll come back, that her silence is temporary, that if he gives it enough time, she'll reach out again. But she won't, because silence from a woman like her isn't temporary. It's transformation. She's healing. She's learning how to be whole without him. She's finally seen herself outside of the relationship she worked so hard to save. And the more peace she finds in her solitude, the less likely she is to ever return to the chaos she walked away from. That's what haunts him, that realization that he pushed away someone who didn't want to leave, that he kept taking for granted the very person who would have stood by him through anything if only he'd made her feel heard, seen, and appreciated. Now, there's no more effort coming from her side, no more long texts trying to explain how she feels, no more second chances, just silence. And in that silence, she becomes the woman he can't forget, not because she left, but because of how she did it. The absence of drama makes it worse. When there's no big breakup scene, no shouting or crying, it leaves him with nothing to argue against, nothing to label her as crazy or emotional. Instead, he's forced to sit with the truth that she left not because she didn't care, but because he didn't, at least not in the ways that mattered. And now she's just gone. And he doesn't even know when exactly he lost her. Maybe it wasn't the day she stopped calling. Maybe it was weeks before that when she started pulling away in her heart. But he didn't notice, or he didn't take it seriously. Now it's too late. And make no mistake, he will remember her. He might not talk about it. He might never admit it out loud, but in those quiet hours, when life stops buzzing and the world gets still, he thinks about her, about how different she was, about how steady she felt, about how easy it would have been to keep her, if only he'd listened, if only he'd loved her right. But that opportunity is gone now, not because she turned cold, but because she finally turned inward. She chose her own peace over his potential. That memory becomes a lesson, a quiet, constant reminder of what he had and lost. It shows up when he least expects it, in the smell of a perfume that reminds him of her, in a phrase someone else says that echoes her voice, in a place they used to go. It's not loud, it's not angry, it just exists. Her silence lives on, not as a punishment, but as a presence he can never fully shake. A man never forgets the woman who stopped explaining herself, the one who let her silence speak, the one who walked away not to be dramatic, but to be free. And that freedom, that decision to leave in peace instead of pain, stays with him for a long, long time.